The most important piece of establishing a cards game's power curve are the cards with no powers at all. Whether they're called normal monsters, bears, or vanillas, these cards set the baseline for every other unit. As card games develop, power creep leaves these monsters behind, or in the case of Rush Duels, immediately does so for certain categories of cards. I've always been a fan of decks utilizing normal monsters, so I wanted to go over why they're important and how to make sure they remain usable. The most obvious appeal of a normal monster is that they're easy for a new player to use and understand. Designing normal monsters to be competitive with the rest of the card pool is especially important for newer games because you need a way to onboard players. But if we do want to make normal monsters viable, there are a few options. The most obvious is to make them big. Chillwind Yeti was a meta-defining card in early Hearthstone because it could battle and win against monsters within its class, and even some of those above it. La Jin, Mechanical Chaser, and Gemini Elf all saw play until cards that outpaced them were introduced. Comparing a Gemini Elf to Break the Magical Warrior is no contest, as you're essentially running a 1900 attack monster with an effect. If you want to keep a normal monster viable, you need a different approach. For example, Duel Links currently has a hard cap of 1500 attack for a level 4 normal monster. Then we also have cards like Thunder the Thunder, who give up 200 attack but have the ability to provide a 300 debuff. Thunder the Thunder can use its effect to beat a 1500, but it also has the versatility to help your own boss monster defeat another. This is a good interaction. The monster with an effect loses direct combat, but has the chance to be valuable in other contexts. In the recent Goha Rush Festival, the third place player opted to give up on the chance to run extra copies of Thunder the Thunder in favor of more 1500 vanillas, even while other decks in the format are filled to the brim with effect monsters. And that brings us to our next concept, hitting a magic number. Are 200 measly attack points really worth giving up the versatility offered by Thunder the Thunder? The answer often hinges not on the actual effect of your card, but what lies in between. And that is 1400. The winning deck, Harpies, and the most popular deck, Royal Rebel, both tend to run 3 to 6 cards with exactly 1400 defense. Thunder the Thunder cannot clear them, no matter what it does. And if you want to beat over these unknown set monsters, you need the vanilla. A card game is in a better spot when a normal monster can do something an effect monster cannot. But let's also discuss the other direction. It is a complete travesty that Rush Duels launched with Max Raider, a normal monster, and Yami Ruler the Dark Delayer, a card with more attack, more defense, and a beneficial effect. The keyword there is beneficial. At the beginning of the video, we said that vanilla set the power curve, but they don't have to top it. Take, for example, Flash Assailant. The card comes with 2000 attack and released in an era where normal monsters couldn't dream of being that strong. But the card does have a downside. To unlock the power, you must have no cards in hand. Or maybe you can have a card that negates its effect. Or maybe even a way to turn that downside into an upside. Monsters with downsides are rife with the opportunity to make interesting gameplay, but you can only calibrate their power by knowing what your vanillas are capable of. And before we move on from stat discussion, let's talk about the ways normal monsters interact with each other. In games with a resource system, like Hearthstone, different vanillas have different mana costs, growing in strength as time goes on. And while Hearthstone itself has chosen to make these cards neutral, you could also have your normal monsters establish class identity. For example, Hunter gets exclusive access to a premium 2-mana stat line, while the control-oriented Priest gains rights to bulkier, higher-cost cards. But what about Yu-Gi-Oh? If a card like Gazelle exists, can Water Magician be any good? And if the Magician exists, why do we need Kanan the Sword Maiden, who shares the same type and attribute? At first glance, there is no reason to include either of these monsters in a deck over Gazelle. But once we introduce Umi, the Aqua monsters are now able to beat Gazelle. Water Magician is better than Kanan, but Kanan offers redundancy for any card that would benefit Modern Magician. Vanilla monsters establish the baseline power, but not every single vanilla needs to serve this purpose. Card attributes and secondary characteristics allow suboptimal normal monsters to gain use cases, which brings us to our next major topic, support. Even if you do make the Cardinal Sin with Max Raider and Yami Ruler, it's possible to salvage the situation, and that is by having payoffs for your normal monsters. Imagine a powerful equipped spell that provides a huge attack boost but only works with vanilla monsters, or a spell effect that requires having a specific, otherwise substandard monster in your deck. As we mentioned earlier, the appeal of normal monsters is ease of use, so I believe the payoff effects should be simple as well. Enhanced stats, drawing cards, or cheating monsters into play are all great effects to loop into normal support, as they highlight the fundamentals and resource systems in your game. Many games also design a creature type, especially dragons, with the design goal of just being your big, powerful guys. If you make all of your best vanilla monsters dragons, all of your dragon support doubles as vanilla support by extension. The reason I wanted to ramble about this design space is that I've been working on a card game of my own, and I'm doing my best to incorporate these thoughts. In my equivalent to a mana system, every level has an effectless monster, with high stamina defining the curve. These cards are distributed amongst different types, such as the early game swarming insects getting a low-cost card, and the value-oriented magicians focusing on tribute monsters. Most effect monsters come with a stamina cost, but some cards with negative effects go above curve, while others start weaker and have the potential to outvalue the vanilla in the right situation. If you are interested in hearing more about the game, or would like to try it yourself, join my Discord server in the description and shoot me a message. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching.